Select your own destiny.
It's October in Canesville, Tennessee. The persistence of the wind sends a chill down your spine, making you almost wish for the blazing hot Tennessee summer that you just put in the past.
Oh my god.
This is still better, you convince yourself.
Oh my god.
Working the night shift for the Canesville Police Department isn't terribly exciting work, but it's better than dealing with Frank, your surly old veteran partner who dragged you along on every cold case and every boring home break-in while leaving you behind to pursue the big criminals and just saying, "Just stay out of my way, Rook." Nothing good happens after midnight, they say. More like nothing happens at all, you think to yourself. It's been 4 weeks on the night shift and you haven't picked up so much as a speeder. However, you see something interesting tonight as you sit in the parking lot of Ralph's supermarket. A scantily clad woman, just standing by the side of the road, waiting for God only knows what. There's been talk of a prostitution ring popping up in the area, specifically a prostitution ring of older women. This woman looked almost too old, though. She has to be pushing 60, You think to yourself.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. You hear your radar gun go off and you turn to see the blazing red numbers. 87. Looks like we have a winner. Your nose perks up at a very distinct smell. Reefer. This motherfucker chose the wrong day and the wrong cop. Or did he? Just as you get ready to pull away, you see a black sedan pull up to your possibly elderly lady of the night. She leans up to the passenger window before getting in. This could be your chance to make a big bust, or it could be nothing. The pot-smoking speeder is a for sure arrest. So what do? Do you go after the prostitution ring, the speeder, or fuck it, let's get coffee?
God damn it. Oh man, this is a tough decision. Do I make my first big bust? Or, and this is what I'm gonna go with, I get that nice elderly woman and I take her around into an alley and I fuck the shit out of her.
That'd be a brilliant decision, but we haven't written a consequence for that.
We'll write it.
I wrote these on the toilet 5 minutes before the interview.
Oh man, I wanted to fuck the old lady.
Well, maybe if you follow her, you can fuck her. Or
All right, I'll follow her.
You're going after the old lady?
Yup.
You follow the black sedan at a distance, but you use your binoculars to get a better look. You see the passenger's head move down to the driver's lap. Busted, bitch. You turn on your siren and make to pull them over.
Called her a bitch.
Your first big arrest. Maybe you can get some info on who's running this ring. You get out and approach the car. The driver rolls down his window, and seemingly your jaw at the same time. It's Interim Police Commissioner Louis Thomas. You just tried to arrest your boss. Who the fuck do you think you are for pulling me over, Rook? When you try to explain, he less than calmly explains to you that this saggy old woman is his wife. This will not go over well in the morning.
Of course.
And scene. Hey! What the fuck? You yell as you turn and see some punk dressed as Mr. T run away with your fisherman's hat. You make to run after him before deciding that it's not worth your time. While you did spend hours making your Gilligan costume look perfect, none of these college kids seem to know who he is anyway. Maybe I am getting too old for this shit, you think to yourself. After attempting to arrest the interim commissioner, you were sent to Murfreesboro, 20 miles down the road. Not exactly a punishment, you thought, when the verdict was sent down, but you feigned devastation long enough to make the punishment seem just. Murfreesboro, Tennessee is home of Middle Tennessee State. While the old men of the Canesville Police Department dreaded the idea of dealing with drunk college kids every night, for you, it was an opportunity to finally get some action. Immediately upon arrival, you were selected to go undercover, to bust a new drug ring. While it was your age, drastically younger than everyone else on the force, that led you to the assignment, and not actually your skills, you jumped on the opportunity to prove yourself. The mission? Uncover the origins of a new wildly popular strand of cocaine that the kids are calling Tide. You have made some connections while pretending to be a junior art history major, just transferring in from an Iowa community college. Axel Foley. These punk kids were too young to get the reference to your favorite police film, Beverly Hills Cop. As long as I don't call myself Paul Blart, they'll never figure me out, you think. But tonight could be the night. The annual Phi Delta Lambda Halloween Blowout Bash is the biggest party of the year, and there will be sure to be plenty of people trying to get their costumes washed tonight with a double scoop of Tide. Hey man, don't worry about that asshole. He doesn't even know where he is, man, says a guy dressed like a hippie. Somehow I don't think it's even a costume, you think to yourself. Just settle down, just take a hit of this, man, he tells you as she passes you a joint. Fucking hippies and their goddamn reefer, the bane of my existence, you think. But if I could get in with this guy, maybe it'll lead to the Tide. This could be big. If these goddamn hippies can handle it, I'm sure I can manage a few puffs. But just then you're approached by a man in a doctor's coat with a name tag that just says, Gyno. Well, what do we have here? Got a new friend, Patty? This guy looks like he's get tons of pussy. Oh yeah, this guy fucks for sure. I bet his cock's at least 11 inches. How many hoes you slay a day, bro? 4? 5? 6? Well, you began before he cut you off. Yeah, that's what I thought. This guy fucks for sure. Listen, bro, I'm having a huge sex party tonight. Going to be so much poon there you won't believe it. You gotta come, bro. You gotta. A sex party could just as easily deliver the knowledge of Tide. But this Halloween party was given to you as a hot tip for people looking to party. So what do? Stay at the Halloween party with the stoner, or go to the sex party?
Is that a question to me?
That's your question. What are you doing?
Oh, well, you interrupted, like I could barely hear half it because of I don't know whose ever Wi-Fi is, but this is me. I would go to your house. I would fly home, go to your house, go get your cock rings, and go to the sex party and bang. Everybody.
All right, I guess he's going to the sex party. Yeah, bro. I fuck hard. Real hard. Let's do this, you say. Nice, bro. Let's go. That sweet poon is waiting. You arrive at an empty, run-down little shanty that few would ever refer to as a house. You walk inside to find no one there. Your new friend sits down on the couch and pulls out a video game controller. You stand there in silence for a minute before finally just spitting it out. So, where's all this pussy you were talking about, you ask. Oh, no, bro. There's no sex party. I couldn't get anyone to come here even if women did like me. I was just trying to get you away from Tyner. That little stoner's my worst enemy. But now that you bailed on him, looks like you're stuck with me, new best buddy. Just as you think you're going to murder this insolent little puke, you see a brick on its table, a load of Tide that could get out any stain. Busted, bitch. But as badly as you would like to take this little piece of shit down, he could be helped to you. After some discussion of his enormous stash of cocaine, you find that he's a dealer, and a big one. The name's Jake, but everybody calls me the Batchman because I sling batches and batches of this shit, bro. Well, Batchman, it appears you have a new partner, you tell him with a smile. This was the best sex party ever. And scene! You've been working for the Batchman for 4 days, and in that time, he has had you race him up and down the stairs several times, film him on the toilet, and help him open an 8-year-old's birthday present and show them to him one by one to spoil the surprise. But you haven't sold much cocaine, and the cocaine you have sold smells oddly like Spring Breeze laundry detergent. However, today presents a new opportunity. A meeting of the Middle Tennessee State Student Drug Cartel. You met Pat Tyner last week, a hippie who hasn't put down the pipe since the late 90s.
Well, that makes sense.
He has cornered the market on pot around campus, so he's kind of a big deal. But looked down upon by the Batchman and members of the cartel selling harder drugs. Next to Tyner is Stefano Faella, the campus muscle relaxer kingpin, whose most relaxed muscle seems to be his brain. An Italian boy, who's found selling drugs and working in cartels to be as natural as walking or breathing, but somehow missed the Scarface or Vito Corleone gimmick by about 2,000 years. He is constantly dressed in a white toga with a laurel wreath around his head, though his actual knowledge of ancient Rome is lacking. The only thing even slightly Roman about him other than his dress is his signature catchphrase.
When in Rome!
The final and most powerful member of the cartel is Casey Irwin, who sells extremely high-priced elephant laxatives. The diuretic is so strong that it causes intense hallucinations, a trip so powerful that some people who have used it claim to have traveled in time. Casey, on the other hand, is tripping on something much harder. He claims to have been raised by kangaroos in the Australian outback. After spending the first 18 years of his life in a kangaroo pouch, he finally emerged to meet the love of his life, a female kangaroo to whom he was wed for all of 40 minutes before she was killed by a poacher. After eating an entire wheel of cheese at a wine tasting with his new in-laws, he developed extreme constipation, causing him to be unable to save his wife. From that moment forward, he vowed to never let anyone waste time on the toilet again and rid the world of constipation using elephant laxatives. "Let's get this show on the road, mate!" yells Irwin in an awful attempt at an Australian accent. "I have to pick up my cousin from State College. He doesn't have a car, mate. Shut it, Roo," the batchman says with a snigger. "We wait for the boss." The boss? This is it, you think to yourself. You clench your sphincter where you're holding your 9mm, preparing to whip it out and make the bust if necessary. However, for every boss, there's usually another boss. Maybe you could climb this thing even higher.
Maybe the batchman can race him up the stairs.
God only knows how deep this mess goes. And then the boss enters, opening the door. And seemingly your jaw at the same time. It's Canesville Interim Police Commissioner Louis Thomas. You lock eyes with him, and in that instant have to make a decision. This bastard got you shamefully reassigned for pulling him over when he was a dirty cop all along. And now your cover is blown. Taking him down and informing the cartel that he's a cop could win you some points with them. However, he could be undercover as well, and his help could get you even further on your mission. So what do? Take Thomas down, or try to work with him?
Do I take down someone I know to be a dirty cop, and someone that I know
Who
can
tried
blow
to
my
ruin
cover?
your career.
Yeah, he did try to ruin my career. That would be terrible.
But maybe he isn't a dirty cop.
No
Maybe
one should have their career ruined.
Maybe he's undercover.
Or do I try and work with Louis? So do I have the choice to just fuck it and go get coffee? Is that available?
The fuck it, go get coffee thing somehow has disappeared from the last
Write it!
scripts.
Write it! Right.
And hopefully it can make it a return in future episodes. But as of now, there is no coffee option. You just have two choices here.
Alright, so I'm trying to put myself in the position of this character, really work through this here. I lock eyes with Louis, and I see that he knows who I am. I know who he is. And I can either take him out or work with him. Well, Evan, I think in this scenario, I have to take him out. I'm pulling out my 9mm, loosening up my bowel muscles, ejecting it from the rectal cavity in which it is stowed currently, and I'm shooting him, and I'm just gonna hope this cartel respects the violence, and then, he's a dirty cop.
Alright. Well, after hours and hours of practice, your 9mm slides out of your dirty hole like a greased up baby ostrich. You aim and pull the trigger, but before you're able to silence him, he yells, "Oklahoma! Oklahoma!" A safe word. He was undercover. The Canesville PD rushes the building, and before you know it, there's a full-on firefight. It happens in a blur. You don't even fire your gun again, but you watch as Fiala and Irwin knock down officer after officer. You think the throwing stars are a hallucination until you turn and see Tyner flinging them like a Chinese Aaron Rodgers. Before you know it, your old partner, Frank, is the only one remaining. When he sees you, he stops. You've seen this look before. A look that says, I'm not just disappointed in you. I want to fucking murder you. And then you see a blade emerge from his gut. He falls to the floor, and you see the Batchman standing over him, holding an 18th century bayonet. Final body count. 13 police.
18th century.
Final body count. 13 police officers down. You've murdered your brothers and betrayed your oath. Well, that escalated quickly, man, says Tyner. That was a pretty good call sniffing out the copper, mate. It looks like we have a new leader, bro.
When in Rome!
And scene! You wipe the sweat from your brow as you make your way down the aisle of the crowded train. You're almost there, mate, you hear in your ear. Just keep you cool. You've grown accustomed to hearing Irwin's abysmal Australian accent while you've been working as the leader of the cartel. After starting a firefight that took out the entire Canesville PD, you could never return to police work. You never asked for life as an outlaw, but you've picked up on it over the past several weeks. Your crowning achievement? Mixing equal parts marijuana, muscle relaxer, elephant laxative, cocaine, and actual laundry detergent to make a super drug, Bababino. The Beano is hot, and a 10,000-pound order has come in. The only catch? You have to deliver it to Canada. So here you are, trying to steal a train car to transport the goods. The job is simple. You paid off an employee to fill the caboose with the great damn Beano. You're the inside man, with Irwin in your ear. His experience in corporate technology made him the best candidate to be the eye in the sky. The cargo is greased! I repeat, the cargo is greased, mate! Fiala is the grease man. After years of being trained in yoga by his mother, he developed incredible flexibility, on top of the fact that he's on so many meds he can't even feel his body anyway. He was stored in a bag, along with the cargo, in a locked-up caboose that could only be unlocked from the inside. You knock on the door and he opens it, completely naked. Where's your fucking toga? You ask. But before he can even answer, you see it. And smell it. It is completely soiled, sitting atop a bag that is empty besides the fecal matter that Stefano has filled it with.
When in Rome!
The bashes are on the doorstep, mate! I repeat, the bashes are on the doorstep! Mate! You exit the car to see Tyner and the Batchman riding alongside the train on horseback, carrying the guns and explosives. You reach out to help them jump aboard, and are sprayed in the face by a stream of water. Damn it, Tyner! We're on a tight schedule, you say. After you joined the cartel, Pat decided that he didn't have a strong enough gimmick, and started wearing a trick flower on his lapel that he uses to spray people with water.
Oh, God.
But everything is set. You have the caboose full of cargo, and the weapons just in case. All you have to do is unhook the car near Sandusky, and you'll be fine. But then you hear a parade of gunshots. You look and see the Batchman has disappeared. God damn it. Just when I thought this might be easy, you think. He's gonna need a fuckload of Tide to get the stains out when I'm done with him. You enter a passenger car to see the Batchman holding an AK-47 and wearing a mask that resembles Bane's from the Dark Knight films.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear,
the Batchman declares in a Bane impersonation. This could have fucked the situation, but maybe it's an opportunity to get out. So what do? Join the passengers and act like you have no idea who this guy is, or pick up a gun and help the Batchman with his makeshift holdup?
I think you join the passengers and act like you don't know who the fuck Batchman is.
You settle into an aisle seat and pretend to be a normal passenger.
Who's going to be the hero?
Asks the Batchman.
Come on. I know one of you wants to save the day.
He makes eye contact with you.
Is it you? You look like you have something to say, boy.
He smacks you in the face and pulls you to your feet, holding you in front of him with a gun to your head. All of a sudden, you're his hostage. He parades up and down the train, taunting passengers with his hostage and telling the engineer to speed up. "The kettle is whistling! I repeat, the kettle is whistling, mate!" You hear in your ear. The batchman takes you to the exit, and you see your ride waiting alongside the tracks. You make the jump to the ground, hop on your horses, and gallop away as the train explodes behind you. A hold-up and a train explosion. By the time they realize the caboose was disconnected 30 miles back, you'll be long gone. And scene. The sea breeze cuts through your hair as you stare out at the mighty Lake Erie. It's almost done. At the other side of this lake is your Canadian buyers, and you will make enough money to retire and leave behind this life of crime that you've only recently taken up. The ship cuts through the water as smoothly as a dull knife through a well-done steak. The Larry Fitzgerald is a ship that many have said is past her prime. In her day, she could grip the sea so well the locals said she had hands like flypaper. But most people don't believe her to be reliable any longer. But for what you paid for your freight and passengers, you're starting to think you got her for a pretty good value. As you look out on the sea, you see a small speedboat approaching. Could it be? No. There's no way, you think to yourself. Pirates! Heavily armed, they climb aboard the ship. 20 modern-day pirates equipped with automatic rifles are led by a man dressed as a 16th century pirate, armed with a cutlass. He even wears a tri-corner hat with a skull and crossbones on it. They quickly overtake the ship. "Arrgh!" yells the old-school pirate. "I am the captain now, matey. This ship belongs to the notorious, terrifying king of the sea, the one pirate who still hasn't lost his way and remembers the point of this god-forsaken game we call pirating. Captain Chibi." Captain Chibi lines up the passengers and evaluates their worth to him. Those who are deemed worthy are assigned a job and spared their lives. The others walk the plank. Tyner, who had decided to start wearing a large red wig to accompany his trick flower, was obviously kept on to be the ship's jester. "Most would ask, what does a ship need with a grown man who chooses not to wear clothes?" Captain Chibi says as he looks Stefano up and down. After soiling his toga on the train, Stefano had decided to just continue the naked look, and had been spending most of his time on the poop deck. "Aye, but I have a job for you, boyo. The men need entertainment, and a jester can't fulfill all your needs. How do you feel about being the ship's exotic dancer?"
When in Rome!
The batchman made a 45-minute impassioned plea about his drive to succeed and why he would make the perfect first mate. The speech involved multiple filthy stories of his sexual exploits, including a Thanksgiving dinner scene that will never erase itself from your memory. "You had me at, and then I stuck a turkey leg up her grandmother's ass, matey. Glad to have you aboard, first mate batchman." Irwin, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. Chibi did not like the idea of a member of his crew constantly saying, "Mate," while he was saying, "Matey." And he couldn't find a use for you either. So here you are, standing on the plank, all eyes on you, as you're supposed to just walk to your death. But then you're hit with two ideas. Ideas from two of your favorite movies. Like Wesley and the Dread Pirate Roberts and the Princess Bride, you can make an impassioned plea to spare your life for true love. Or you could pull a Luke Skywalker in Jedi and jump from the plank, grab the end, and try to vault yourself back onto the ship and fight for your life. So what are you? A lover or a fighter?
I am a fighter.
With all the dirty pirates watching, you boldly walk to the end of the plank, and without hesitation, jump into the air. You turn around, grab the wooden board with your hands, but instead of it bending and vaulting you into the air, it just snaps, and you fall to the water below. What was I thinking? You can't make a move like that without the help of the Force, you think to yourself. I'm Sarlacc food. Then you see a life preserver in front of you. You grab it, and they pull you back aboard. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, matey. Either way, I like ya. Captain Chibi spares your life, but won't do the same for Irwin. He began his life in the dry wasteland that is the Australian outback, and he ends it underwater, as he joins his long-lost love in that great big wine tasting in the sky. You and 3 of your 4 crew members have survived a pirate attack, but you're now at the mercy of the pirates, who have no idea the value of your cargo. And scene. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down, of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead, when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of bababino 10,000 pounds more than the Larry Fitzgerald weighed empty, that good ship and crew was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. You managed to last almost 6 hours at sea under Captain Chibi's command, but the batchman finally fucked the situation. You were able to convince the captain during a private dinner that your cargo was not an extremely valuable drug, but actually laundry dryer lint being transported to a Canadian lint buyer. The bababino was safe, until the batchman, overcome with jealousy, as he was supposed to be the new first mate, made a power play for the captain's trust. Can dryer lint do this? The batchman screamed on deck in front of the entire crew as he jammed the great Dambino up his nose, into his mouth, and, in a very awkward moment, had Fano use a funnel to send some through his rectum.
When in Rome!
I can't believe it be true, matey, Captain Chibi says to you with a scowl. It appears I was right about you from the beginning. Back to the plank with ye. You are escorted by Tyner, who is given extraordinarily large red shoes to help with his balance aboard the ship. You used to be somebody, Tyner, you say to him. Now look at you, week by week, slowly, just looking more like a... You're cut off by a noise so terrifying one would think the devil himself had just shat. And your feet start to slip from under you. You grab tight to Tyner, whose obnoxious clown shoes allow him to grip the surface of the ship. You turn around and see that the ship is cracked in half and going down quickly. Fano and the batchman stand atop your side of the ship, which has been set ablaze. While you have no idea how long it would take a normal person to cause this kind of damage to a ship, you now have an idea of how long it takes someone hopped up on the Beano. Just seconds. They cackle with glee atop the flaming, sinking wreckage, apparently completely unaware that their deaths are imminent. When in Rome! The batchman yells, and is quickly punched in the face and topples down into the icy Lake Erie waters. Note to self, you think. Never steal another man's catchphrase. Then you see a small, empty raft floating in the water. It looks like there's enough room for a few people to fit on. You grab Tyner and Fiella and dive down to capture your new vessel. There's space for the 3 of you, and maybe one more, you think. Then the batchman swims up. He has a bag containing the last few bricks of the Beano. You don't think the raft can support both of them, so you have to make a decision. Do you save the batchman or the Beano?
Is this my cue?
This is your cue. You gotta save the batchman or the Beano. The Beano, if you didn't pick up on it,
is the cocaine. Got it.
Yeah.
No, it's not the cocaine.
Well, it's part cocaine, part a few other drugs, but we'll figure it out eventually.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Yeah, we're taking the drugs.
You grab the bag from the batchman and safely secure it on the raft. Before shoving him down into the cold, dark water of Lake Erie, you feel little remorse. He was always a bastard, and it's his fault you had to take up this life of crime in the first place. Not to mention, he's the one who sank the ship. But you still can't help but wish him luck. Maybe he'll find another raft out there. But a man that stupid and absolutely fucked up on a cocktail of super drugs most likely didn't last long in the merciless waters of the Gitchagumi. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd never given the Batchman any power. And scene! After a day and a half of being stranded in a raft, you have begun to think about the possibility of eating Tyner's big red clown shoes. I'm just saying, there's a lot of meat on them, you argue.
When in Rome!
But the sea hasn't been good to Tyner. He has become as pale as, well, a clown, actually. He looks exactly like a fucking clown. Then you see land in the distance. You won't have to eat Tyner's shoes after all. If it's America, you can get a nice big cheeseburger. If it's Canada, you can probably get cheese curds or something. Whatever it is, it'll be better than shoes. But the closer you get, you realize that it isn't either. It's just a tiny island out in the middle of Lake Erie. Probably the most worthless island in existence. But there has to be something there to eat. So you row ashore. As you survey the beach, you hear a noise in the trees nearby. You reach towards your Schwenkta and prepare to pull out your gun. Then you see an old man with an extraordinarily long white beard emerge, with a smile almost as extraordinarily large. The man explains that his name is Grant, and he's been living on this island since his ship, the Edmund Fitzgerald, wrecked 40 years ago. While excited to have the company, he also bears grave news. Oh, now that you're here, you'll never get off this island. I'm sorry to say, my boys. The island takes, but she never gives back. This is your home now, he says. It's not a bad life, relaxing on the beach in the Lake Erie summer sun. What about the winter, you ask? Oh, winter never touches this island, my boy. It exists only in the time of bliss. No rain has ever touched her shores. Only sunshine. Either this guy is super fucked up from living on an island for 40 years, or we're dead and this is our afterlife, you think to yourself. The banana trees are plentiful, and there's always fish to be caught, Grant says. Just be careful when fishing, my boys. There's a monster around this island. Big and green and terrible. He comes out of the water from time to time, trying to catch a piece of human flesh. Just don't get too close to him. Oh, no! Here he comes now! Quick, get up in the banana trees! You turn and see something emerging from the water. Step by step, it gets taller as it gets closer to the shore. Its dark green skin appears to suck in all the sunlight around, as the world around you begins to dim. You reach for your Schwenkta again, where you have your gun, but there's only one bullet. Could the bullet even kill this monster? What if it's just wasted on this beast? You could need it later on. So you have a decision to make. Should you try to take down the monster with your final bullet, or follow the crazy old man into the trees?
I follow the old man in the trees and throw those Bob Irwin grown bananas right down to the beast to try to distract it.
You turn and run for the banana trees and scurry up as fast as possible, accidentally knocking the old man off the tree in the process. He lays on the ground next to the tree, cowering in fear until the monster is right on top of him. Then you hear laughing, cackling even. The monster reaches toward its head and removes the seaweed. It's a human. But He's not the only one laughing. Grant is in hysterics, but manages to explain that this is his friend Evan. You've been tricked into thinking you were in serious danger by two crazy old men, but at least you didn't shoot him. You give a smile and look down to see Fano putting the seaweed on his own head.
When in Rome!
And scene! Island life has suited you for about a week, but now you've had enough of the sand in your ass and the dirty old locals and their constant erections waving around. You have now tried to take the raft out 3 times. Each time the island was put behind you, and somehow you managed to paddle right back into it. "You can't leave the island, my boy. I already told you. The island won't let you go," says Grant. While you didn't want to believe the old man's nonsense, it was appearing to be true. It was also incredibly warm for November on Lake Erie, and there hadn't been a cloud in the sky, so maybe there was something to what he said. You had just about given up on the idea of leaving the island until one day you see a dark patch in the sky. As you gaze out onto the endlessly beautiful horizon, you saw one little spot, just floating there. While the idea of a tear in the fabric of reality that would allow you to move between worlds sounded outrageous, what events in the past 2 months of your life hadn't been? But the hole is in the middle of the ocean, and probably 20 feet high. There's no way to get to it. "That may not be true, my boy," explains Grant. "Evan and I might have the power to get you up there. If you can build a ramp and some skis, we've got a speedboat on the other side of the island that could probably get you up there. I've paddled for miles out into the middle of the ocean on this stupid raft while you had a speedboat the whole time. It's very low on gas, my boy, and we have no way of getting more. But there should be enough to get you where you need to go. But if we let you use it, you have to do something for us. You have to leave Mr. Giggles. I just can't imagine living without my daily slapstick routine anymore." Mr. Giggles was the name first jokingly given to Pat due to his new attire, but at this point everyone had just about forgotten that he had a real name to begin with. "Fine with me," you say. "Fano, are you with me?"
When in Rome!
The ramp is being constructed, the boat is ready, and you and Fiala stand atop your water skis, ready to fly off through the sunset and into what Grant has started to refer to as God's rectum. Evan starts up the boat, and you are gliding atop the water, picking up speed as you approach the ramp. You can see the rectum. It's raining on the other side. As you get closer to it, it seems much higher than you ever imagined, and you start to doubt your ability to make the jump. "Shark! There's a shark, my boy! On the other side of the ramp!" Now you have a serious decision to make. If you jump and don't make it, you could be shark food. But if you back out now, the boat may never have enough gas to get a second try. So what do? Jump the shark or not jump the shark?
Help. I remember, God, what was her name back in high school? The class about bullshit.
Yeah, pop culture. What was her
Pop
name?
culture. It's all about jumping the shark with the Fonz. So we're going to jump the shark here.
Mr. Giggles looks back at you concerned, waiting for some sign of whether or not you will jump. You give him a thumbs up and an "Hey!" You look over at Fano to see what he thinks of your decision.
When in Rome!
The two of you hit the ramp and glide off, zipping through the air, with your exit straight in front of you. You're high enough, but can't be sure if you'll have the distance. Fano, unencumbered by clothes, glides through the air like an eagle, and right through God's rectum. You, on the other hand, fall short of your target. Time seems to stand still. You're frozen in that instant. You look down and see the shark circling below. But you seem to be moving in slow motion. Or maybe not moving at all, until you feel your body jerk upwards. You're surrounded by a blue light and are floating into the sky. You've been abducted by aliens. And scene! You've been in and out of consciousness for what feels like a lifetime. When you're back, it's only for a few moments, and you're unable to get your bearings or grasp any concept of what the situation is. But now you seem to finally be coming to. You can feel your gun pocketed deep inside your sphincter. Then you see it sitting on the table. Then what the hell's in my sphincter? You think to yourself. You look over and see a rather large, hairy man who it appears hasn't showered in the new millennium. There is also a rather large robotic arm adjusting a probe inside the filthy man's rectum, but
Hey now.
the man is all smiles. Good to see you're awake, kid. I was starting to get worried about you, he says through a scruffy beard. You know, you were making some odd noises in your sleep. I didn't know if you were going to make it. You kept saying, no, stop it, not again, not in there. It was almost like you weren't enjoying your probing, but I'm happy to see you snapped out of it. You look down to see that you are also being worked on vigorously by a robotic arm. The name's Sobi. I've been getting probed on this ship for almost 3 years now. Any questions? I'm your man. Yeah, I've got a question, you say. How the fuck do we get out of here? Get out? Why would you want to? Roof over your head, daily meals, and all the anal pleasuring you could ever ask for. This is it, man. This is as good as it gets. You're a god now. This is what gods do, you think? I thought churches were a go-to safe haven for the homeless, but clearly this bum never got the gods don't get fucked in the ass by robots memo. Just then, an alien enters. He's gray and slimy, with big, empty, black eyes. He looks straight out of an old science fiction movie. This has to be a trick, you think. There's no way I'm on an actual alien spaceship. Then you look out of the window, and you know it has to be true. You're in space. This is too real. No one could fake this. The alien slathers Sobi's ass in butter and puts on a bib. Oh, this is a new one, Sobi giggles. With a knife and fork in hand, he is about to eat this homeless man's ass right in front of you. But his alien phone rings. He answers in some sort of unintelligible gibberish made of beeps and boops, then rushes out of the room, but accidentally drops his keys. This is your chance. You manage to slide out of your probe fairly easily, as your rectum has had great practice. You pick up the keys and start trying to match one to the exit portal. But you can't leave Sobi behind to get his ass eaten, can you? Come on, you bum. We're getting out of here. No way! I've never had it so good. I'm never leaving. He's asking for it, but somehow you can't stop picturing this alien slicing up his juicy bottom and eating it piece by piece. So what do? Leave the bum to fend for himself, or knock him out and drag him along?
Oh, we're leaving him for sure.
If you want to stay, stay. I don't give a shit. Just make sure he seasons that ass a little better before he slices you up. You look through the series of oddly shaped keys, not sure which one will take you home. Eventually you pick one out, shove it into the slot, and turn. The room starts spinning around you, and everything goes cold. Then it's blazing hot. There is no more spinning. You open your eyes and find yourself back on Earth, in the middle of a desert. What a relief. You made it. Then you're knocked unconscious from behind, from an unannounced assailant. And scene! For the second time in what feels like about 20 minutes, you find yourself struggling to regain consciousness. But this time, you're splashed in the face by a bucket of water and abruptly brought to your senses. Now, I'm only going to ask this one time. What the hell are you doing here? Says a well-dressed man inches from your face. You look around and see that you're in a desert in a makeshift camp with a few canvas tents and maybe 20 people around. Where am I, you ask? Don't sit here and try to act like you don't know. This is Canton, Ohio. No one gets this close to Lake Erie without knowing where they're going. Now, for the last time, what the hell are you doing here? Ohio? There's no deserts in Ohio, you say. Now, maybe that were true in 2015 where you bought those clothes, the man says with a laugh. But this land has been nothing but desert for 40 years. Now, I'll ask again, what the hell are you doing here? What do you mean? What year is it? Well, son, it is 2055. The sky is blue. The sand is orange. And Louis Thomas still hasn't made the playoffs. Are there any other obvious facts that I need to state for you while you recover from what was clearly a very intense Beano trip? I don't know. The spaceship, I was trying to get away from the island, and it's all kind of... Did he say the island? You hear from an oddly familiar, abysmal Australian accent. You turn and see a young man holding a large potted plant. It's him, mate! It's gotta be! Just look at him! Now, let's not jump to any hasty conclusions here, Robert. We don't know anything about this man, says the well-dressed man. I didn't carry my great-grandfather's lost banana tree halfway across the country for you to deny the Savior! Look at him! It's him, mate! It's Savior? What's going on? You managed to sneak in and ask. It was prophesied that a man from the green times would one day appear and lead us to the promised land, where I could plant the world's last banana tree. He does seem to fit the description, I suppose. So, let me introduce myself. I am Andrew Castle, President of the United States of America. Self-appointed! True enough. This world lost need of government officials after what we call the incident. Now it is ruled by 3 men who each control one of the planet's great resources. All the cheese goes through the cheese czar. The Beano, which many claim caused the world meltdown, is controlled by a man named David Devine. Our most valuable resource, prostitutes, are controlled by a man they call the Commish. However, we believe we can gain a foothold on these tyrants if we control a resource ourselves. Bananas. That's why we need you to lead us to the island. So it appears you've fallen into a position of power, and are left with an interesting choice. You can join these men and help President Castle gain his advantage over the world's leaders, or you can be the leader yourself. They're not going anywhere without you. Why do you need this guy? However, he could be useful with knowledge of a world that you know very little about. Heck, maybe power isn't something that you want to have in this world anyway. So what do? Take control of the group, or just follow along and see if you can help?
It's time that we take over.
Well, it's all pretty clear to me now, you say. And the thing that is most clear is that I don't need you at all, Mr. President. I will lead these people to the promised land. But they are my people now. I control this group, and as my first order as leader, I say we first seek out this prophet before we go any further. I need to meet this man. Oh, that's easy, mate. He traveled with us. He's in one of the tents with a whore right now. But don't worry, it never takes him long. Oh, here he comes. And then you see an old, gray, shaggy man emerge from the tent, as naked as the day he was born. You lock eyes with him in disbelief.
When in Rome!
And scene.
And where did you put this banana tree?
asked David Devine, the man who took over your position as ruler of all things Beano. You look up at the podium, at the three tyrants of the world in the year 2055, and wonder how you could have possibly ever gotten into this position. As leader of the Banana Tribe, as you had become to be known, you made it about 40 miles north toward Lake Erie before you were easily stopped by the Cheese Czar's men and taken captive. Fortunately, you were wise enough to hide the banana tree before you were caught, and it staved off your execution. The triumvirate of leaders are too scared of someone gaining power in their world, and won't kill you until they control the banana tree. Sitting with you on the ground in the courtroom are little Robert Irwin, Stefano, and an old friend, Grant Sainer. He said that after you had left the island, everything had gone wrong. While the weather was still perfect and appropriate for growing bananas, all of the trees had died, and the mood was sour. Even Mr. Giggles's jokes couldn't make him smile. So he left in search of you and Stefano, hoping that you could correct the island's woes. But now you are all captive, and probably will never see the island again.
The Beano will make them talk,
says Devine.
The Beano will get them so fucked up that they won't even know what a banana is,
says the Cheese Czar. He is a terribly hairy man. It is hard to tell where his hair ends and his beard begins, but he has cheese braided through all of it, and it stinks like nothing you have ever smelled before.
I've got some old gorgonzola that smells so bad they'll be begging us to take the tree off their hands.
Forcing drugs and dirty cheese on these poor men, says the commish. That's not the way to go. Let me just give them 10 minutes with my fairest ladies, and they will sing us a beautiful song.
Whores, whores, whores. That's all you ever talk about, commish, rants Devine. Maybe if you took the time to settle down and find a good woman to keep you straight, you wouldn't have to come to me asking for loans. There's only one way to settle this. Tell us now, or we kill this one.
One of Devine's goons holds a sharpened stick to Grant's throat. In this world, there are no more firearms or blades, only sharpened wood. That is, except for your trusty 9, still lodged inside your bowels. If there is ever a time to use it, this would be it. While your 6 bullets won't be enough to take down the hundreds of people around you, taking down the leaders may be enough to create the panic necessary for you to sneak out. However, maybe you don't even need a gun. These people seem to be at each other's throats enough as it is. Maybe if you place the correct comment into the conversation, this powder keg will blow, and the 3 warring tribes will be too preoccupied to worry about you. So what should you do? Come out, guns a-blazing? Or try to talk them into fighting each other?
I'm gonna try to talk them into fighting each other.
Maybe you're both right, you say to Devine and the commish. Maybe we all could use some time with a woman. A good woman, like the one I saw you with earlier, you say, nodding your head toward Devine. Glasses, light brown hair. She seemed like a great catch.
My wife is blonde,
barks Devine. Well, who is that woman there, then? You say as you point to the woman seated behind the commish.
Stephanie! Screams the commish with glee. I knew you wanted my sister, Dave. I've waited so long for this day. We can be brothers now. I don't want your disgusting sister, barks back Devine. I wouldn't touch her given the choice between her and the Tsar's beard.
I'll have a go with Stephanie, says the Tsar.
Oh, like I'd let a filthy little cheese bitch touch my sister. Get out of here, you dirty animal. And then it happened. The Tsar took a swing, and the commish was on the ground. The entire room roared with excitement at the opportunity of a fight. And then it was hard to tell what happened next. Whether it was the Tsar groping Stephanie, or Stephanie groping the Tsar, there was no time to figure it out. You turned to run away with your men and see Grant, on the ground, in a pool of his own blood, motioning to you.
It's not Harry, he says. It's not Harry, my boy. It's Mohawk.
While you don't have time to process what he says, you remember the words as you grab Fano and little Robert and scurry away. A little chaos was just what the doctor ordered. You'll be at the banana tree by sundown.
And scene!
You sit on your hands and knees in the sand, holding Stefano's head as he breathes his last breaths. Little Robert died just yesterday. People weren't made for this desert heat, and you're not sure how much longer you'll last. You barely knew little Robert, but it was tough to see him go. It's even harder to say goodbye to Fano, who was with you for so much of your journey.
When in
You may never know what he was going to say next, but wherever he was going to say, you hope he's there now. The muscle relaxer kingpin will never feel more relaxed. Sleep now, old friend. Your work here is done. After interpreting Grant's final words, you were able to conclude that the island wasn't in Lake Erie, but actually a lake called Mohawk. After finding a map, you were able to locate Mohawk as being south of your current location and started the journey. But you have reached your destination. There is no lake. Only the dried-up remains of what used to be a serene slice of God's blue heaven on this earth. There is nothing to be seen except a tall but thin, rickety, rusty old steel slide. You collapse next to it and begin to weep softly. There was a time when you thought that maybe there was a reason for all of this. Maybe there was a higher power at play here. But here you are, alone, in the middle of the desert, next to a rusty old slide that is as corroded as your belief in the destiny that propelled your selections you made in life, the selections that brought you here, to this place. Your soft weeping turns to powerful, angry sobbing. You pound your fists in frustration against the sand with no purpose at all behind the blows you land on the ground, as if you were trying to prove the meaninglessness of all of your life's previous actions. There is no destiny! You scream as you pound a hole in the ground, letting fly particles of sand, each of which's existence seemed to be as worthless as your own. And as you finally worn yourself down to the point where you feel like you can finally lay down and just die, your fist makes one final lazy throw at the ground. Ting! It makes contact with something hard. You sit up and try to dig it out. The noonday sun gleams off the top of something metallic, and you pull it out. It's an old can. Bud Light Limerita. 8 ounces, you read. You sit next to the dirty old slide, covered in sand, sweat, blood, and tears, holding a sad excuse for an alcoholic drink. But you can't help asking yourself, what is the point? Are you supposed to drink this Limerita at noon next to this slide? Or is it just another meaningless coincidence trying to make you believe that there is a purpose to it all? So what are you going to do? Drink it or pour it out? And I know a little something about drinking Limeritas at noon next to that slide.
As do I.
And I think both of us learned it's never a good decision to drink a Limerita at noon next to the slide, as well as the fact that you make your own destiny.
You are very sweaty, you're thirsty, you're in the middle of this desert. Are you sure you're going to pass up this opportunity for refreshment?
You make your own destiny, and I'm gonna tell that I'm pouring that thing out. You climb atop the rusty old slide with the banana tree under one arm and the Limerita in your other hand. You crack open the can and pour it down the slide. The yellow-green liquid makes contact with the rust, and you hear a crackle, and the rust begins to dissolve away. The Limerita rolls down the slide, ripping off the corrosion on its way down, revealing the beautiful, slick, stainless steel that was underneath. You stand up tall and slide down. You hit the bottom and feel the sand between your toes. But you look down, and the sand isn't orange. It's white. You see that you're no longer in the desert, but back on the island, banana tree in hand. You walk to the remnants of the once great grove and plant Bob Irwin's last banana tree. It sprouts up in an instant, leaping towards the sky, immediately fully grown. 12 giant bananas emerge from the tree and fall to the ground. You walk up to one of the bananas. It's the size of a person. You jump back as something starts to move inside. There's something in there, and you're not sure you want to stick around to find out what it is. But it's too late. It begins to peel open the banana. And seemingly your jaw at the same time. It's Interim Police Commissioner Louis Thomas. The other bananas begin to open around you, and people emerge from them. Pat Tyner, formerly known as Mr. Giggles, steps out, free of all of his clown makeup and attire. "Hello, mate!" you hear from a familiar voice, and you turn to see a familiar face of Casey Irwin. "Arrgh, matey!" And out pops Captain Chibi. "It's been too long, my boy, but you got us back to Lake Mohawk," you hear shouted from old Grant. Evan steps out from his banana, of course, covered in seaweed. You see the bum Sobe without a probe in his ass for the first time, and realize he did exist after all. It wasn't just a fever dream. It was a really nice banana peel, says President Andrew Castle as he stares at the split remains of his peel.
It was a really nice peel.
"It ain't easy being cheesy," you hear, and turn to see the cheese czar, the commish, and David Devine already tumbling around on the ground in a fistfight. Then there was one last banana. It slowly unpeels in front of you. Your smile couldn't be any bigger as you stare at the old friend in front of you.
When in Rome!
You look at this group of 12 men that you have somehow gathered here together in paradise and wonder what was the point of it all. Maybe it wasn't about prostitution rings, drug cartels, train robberies, pirate attacks, shipwrecks, magical islands, jumping over sharks, alien probings, post-apocalyptic power struggles, or anything like that. Maybe it was just about friendship all along. Whatever it was, it got these 12 people here, now, to Lake Mohawk. And that's all that matters. You turn toward the water, somehow finally knowing what you're destined to do. You step out onto the water and disappear into the setting sun. And scene!
Absolutely